crafting. What it is, what it isn't, what it could be, what it should be. Very interesting questions that have now come to the forefront. Now, I'm sure most of you have probably seen a number of videos. Grumpy Eyes kind of comes to mind, and Salty Mike's reply to that. And I watched both videos because I found it interesting that in all honesty, I could see both points of view. I could see kind of what Grumpy was trying to present. Maybe he wasn't kind of putting it together in the right way. Certainly I'm guilty of that more often than not. But while I do agree with that kind of premise that yes, there is going to be crafting in the game, I have to say that it's not really crafting, I think, in the way that kind of Grumpy is envisioning when he's talking about it in his video. I think he's envisioning something that is a lot closer to basically like a World of Warcraft or a current World of Warcraft crafting system, like blacksmithing. Now, of course, crafting in World of Warcraft has gone through some very minor alterations, I would say, over the years. It's largely broadly the same as it ever was or has been for a long time, but recently it went through a bit of a change. And in this latest expansion is when it has been most strongly felt. So looking at blacksmithing, let's say, okay, we're going to make a great axe. We now get to customize it in a number of different ways. We get to customize its item level depending on what items that we have access to. We can change the stats, haste, versatility, mastery, critical strike. We can alter these things. We can give it special effects. And then we can also add in certain additives to make the end result much more high quality or more likely to be high quality. And then we have new skill trees that allow us to further develop our character and customize our ability to produce that good. So the intent behind this, and it really hasn't manifested itself the way the developers had intended, but the intent was to make it so that, oh, this person's the armor guy, oh, this person's the weapon guy, that sort of thing. And so you would kind of get to know these people on your server. Unfortunately, server communities not being what they are, it didn't really work as intended. But I think that that's kind of maybe what Grumpy was trying to envision when he said, oh, we're not getting a crafting system or even, let's say, a basic tier 0 system like that. I think that that's kind of what he was trying to get across, because certainly we do go out, we gather materials, we go into our ship, we push the button, boom, we get our little tractor beam device or some semblance of, or some assembly of those parts for, the personal device. So I would kind of debate that, we don't really get crafting. It certainly is a technicality, but it is in the game, but at the same time, it's a bit more of a vendor. Like, you go out and you earn money, and then you go to a store and you push a button and you buy the thing, and here you go out, you earn, I can't even remember what the resource is called now from hull scraping, but you earn that, and then you trade it in for an item in the game. So, I mean, it's very middle of the road, and I wouldn't even really call it a tier 0 implementation, because where does CIG want to go with this crafting system? Because the way Chris is describing it is not really even like a World of Warcraft system. He's describing, or he intends to use as a basis, the Valheim crafting system. Now, Valheim itself is a really good game. There's a lot of really great stuff going on in this game, and the crafting system is one of those things. The crafting system, basically, you create a work table, you create a forge, And then there are little add-ons, anvils, blowers, things like that, leather racks and all this sort of stuff, so that you can modify and ever more increase the strength of the items that you craft. You can craft an item and then continuously upgrade it after the fact. And that makes for some very interesting possibilities. So even if you find yourself at the very beginning of the game where you really only have access to the Black Forest, you can take what items that you can get in the Black Forest and you can crank them up to fairly strong power levels comparable to the enemies in that area. And so the intent with a lot of this stuff is that the player feels a very solid path of progression. As you learn to craft better things, you kind of work your way up to be able to access different areas of the game. You go from, meadows to Black Forest to swamp, then plains, and then on and on. I think right now it's Mistlands, which is snow mountains, snow-capped mountains are there before you go to plains, and then it's plains. Anyways, I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments below. But the crafting system there is central to the gameplay experience. So I'm not really sure that Chris Roberts is intending to create something that is central to the gameplay experience, but what could possibly come from this? What could possibly make this a remarkable system or something that's really fun and really rewarding? And in my imagination, this is kind of how I'm constructing it, is consider the old hangars that we used to have. You remember when you buy a ship and you get access to the Aero View hangar, or so on and so forth. And we really haven't visited those hangars in a long time, and I do believe our access to them is no longer there in the game files. But what you could do is you could restore that access, or in the persistent universe, when we gain permanent access to hangars, you could make it so that in that hangar you have a crafting table or a replicating device of some kind. And as you go out in the game and you gather certain resources, you can store some of those in your hangar. And what you can do with that is you can kind of go to this table, and as you kind of move through the game and you learn certain things, like maybe you learn the recipes to make something like the Lumen submachine gun, something like that, and then you're able to say, oh, I can take the Lumen and I can lower the damage of the weapon, but if I have a certain part that I can attach to that table, let's say like a type R phase discriminator, and I can attach that to the table, and that allows me to dial down the damage but up the rate of fire, or dial down the accuracy but up the rate of fire, something like that. Maybe increase the range but lower the rate of fire. All these different little modifications that we can make. Maybe we can make it so the tractor beam that we carry on our hip is a wide angle tractor beam. It can pick up a large number of packages, but it moves them very, very slowly. So let's say a ship blows up and there's a lot of little items that drop. You can pick up a lot of items, but they're very, very slow. So it's a bit of a trade-off. I think that going in that direction, making it so that maybe a sniper rifle doesn't hit as hard, but it's far more accurate, or however you want to change it, whatever makes sense in the game. I think that opens up a lot of interesting doors for gear customization and players to kind of explore the possibility of setups that more suit their personal play style. But it also kind of comes with a bit of a danger when you kick open the door to these sorts of things. The danger is that player creativity can manifest itself in many unexpected, wonderful, destructive, and hilarious ways. But I think that overall, I mean, the dangers are obvious, but the benefits are generally pretty amazing when you have the ability to express a little creativity, to customize how you want to build things out. When you purchase an item in a video game, or you loot it, or you unlock it, however it works in any of the games that you play, when they're multiplayer games, they can have a tendency to be generic, to be the same for everyone. Everyone has, this rifle. Everyone has this sword. It has these stats. It does this thing. And so it becomes very boring and very, very samey, where everyone is just kind of like, oh, you have that rifle. Well, I know what that does. But adding in customization, adding in the ability to kind of mess with things like range and accuracy, it can allow you to build the character that more closely suits your personal style, more conforms to your personal ambitions for that character, what you want that character to do. Yes, it can manifest itself in certain game-breaking ways, but it can also manifest itself in the most important way, which is allowing a player to feel connected to their character, to feel value in the item that they have, the gun that not only they earned or looted, but then they customized. And they in a way, because Star Citizen doesn't have a skill system, doesn't have a talent system, the only way that you can really express customization or the ability to manipulate character performance beyond the generic stats that weapons have is to be able to kind of mess with things like this. This ends up becoming something of a talent system or a skill system in the game, and that often provides a lot of depth and reward to gameplay. And when you get to a point where the flying of the ship becomes a little mundane, when the missions become the same mission again and again and again, oftentimes what kind of keeps that going is the ability to tackle it in new and different ways, or ways that you enjoy more. And if there is going to be a crafting system in Star Citizen, not unlike Valheim, I hope it does. I hope it does come with the ability to not only create a weapon, but upgrade a weapon, or choose how to upgrade that weapon and how to change it. I hope it comes with the ability to take armor that our characters wear, different spacesuits, undersuits, whatnot, and change their properties. Maybe a light piece of armor can be modified to give better resistance against cold or heat, much like a heavier piece of armor, at the expense of something else. Obviously, there has to be, a balance. But it opens a lot of interesting doors, and it's often a crafting system that allows for a greater depth of character customization is often something that a lot of entry-level players tend to overlook, but overall it has an incredible value gameplay-wise, and it really keeps the player engaged with the game much longer than they would ordinarily be engaged if it was just straightforward and mundane. And so I hope that this is where this is going, but I think we'll have to wait quite a while to see. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.